tonight's Green Report, we stay here in Washington, D.C., where on Saturday, Native American groups held a rally outside the White House to protest the proposed Keystone XL pipeline. Protesters urged the president and Congress to reject the pipeline, calling it a death warrant for their people. Saturday's protest comes at a big moment in the fight against Keystone. Tomorrow, Republicans will officially take control of the Senate, and incoming Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said that passing that pipeline is his top priority for the next Senate session. And that's not just rhetoric either. Republicans have already penciled in a hearing on Keystone for this Wednesday. But the news isn't necessarily all bad. Although President Obama still hasn't said whether or not he would veto a bill approving the Keystone XL pipeline, leading Democrats do say they have enough votes to protect such a veto if the president decides to issue one. Joining me now for more on all this is Tara Houska, a tribal rights attorney, founder of NotYourMascots.org, and a co-organizer of this weekend's protest outside the White House. Tara, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Let's start out with Saturday's protest. Why death warrant? Tell me, for Native people, what does that mean?
So the Keystone XL pipeline is set to go through the Oglala Aquifer, and on the way through that aquifer, it passes through some ancestral tribal lands as well as existing boundaries of reservations and several water projects along there that supply the water supply. It's roughly 80% of the drinking water for people in that area. So when the pipeline leaks, which it probably will, I mean, that's what happens when pipelines go through, they leak, it will contaminate the water supply for the people living in that area.
The Aboriginal people, the indigenous people?
The indigenous people, the farmers, that we've actually formed alliances with the farmers in that area as well. But it's not just a death warrant for us, because that particular area supplies 30% of the nation's irrigation water. Right. So that's our food source as well.
That's astonishing. I mean, it's is the major Republican talking point on Keystone is that it's going to create jobs. We had, in fact, John Barrasso of Wyoming, oddly enough, a week after Chuck Todd admitted on Meet the Press that he doesn't challenge his guests when they lie because they'll never come back on his show again. It happened this Sunday. Here's the senator.
What's the first bill that's coming on the president's desk from this Republican Congress?
The president's going to see the Keystone XL pipeline on his desk, and it is going to be a bellwether decision by the president whether to go with jobs in the economy. His own State Department said it's 42,000 new jobs. This is a good infrastructure project supported widely across the United States. He's going to have to decide between jobs and the extreme supporters of not having the pipeline.
Now, to the best of my knowledge, Chuck Todd did not challenge that statement. Would you care to?
Yes, I mean, so the jobs that they allege are so, it's going to create so many jobs for this country. It creates some temporary construction jobs while the pipeline's being constructed. Once that's done, it's roughly a few dozen at the most. Yeah. I mean, the actual job creation tied to that, the long-standing job creation, is nominal. The president said that. The Trans-Canada president has kind of admitted that in interviews. I mean, you don't need thousands and thousands of people to run a pipeline. It's just going to be the people at the refineries and the people extracting at the tar sands. Right.
So a single McDonald's franchise would produce more jobs than this entire pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, the president said, why are we not investing in infrastructure? We would create thousands and thousands of long-term jobs from that project. I mean, we have infrastructure that everybody uses. I'm from Minnesota, and we had 35W. Remember the bridge collapse? Yeah. I mean, that's the state of infrastructure in this country, and it's something that we're just not taking advantage of.
Yeah. So, do you have any sense of whether the president's going to veto this?
So I actually used to work for the Council on Environmental Quality back in 2011, and so this decision has years and years in the making. It seems that recently he's kind of leaned more towards saying that this is not good for the country and this is not in the national interest of the country. So I'm very hopeful that he vetoes it, and he is probably one of the strongest tribal presidents that we've had in a long time. He's created a lot of initiatives for indigenous people. He actually went out and visited a reservation, which is almost never happens. And if he does honor our treaties and respect our rights as people, then we're hopeful that he vetoes.
If just on a kind of peripheral topic, John McCain, I believe, was the author of the piece that got inserted into the Cromnibus that took the Apache Tears land. That seemed to me pretty despicable. If you want to just very quickly describe what that was, and I'm wondering if that is that you know, what does that say about the nature of the relationship right now between the United States and the federal government and its various agencies that work with Native peoples in this country and the Native American communities in the United States?
So that's the Apache Land Grab, in which the country basically took 2,400 acres out of trust and gave it to an Australian mining company. It was exactly a continuation of dispossession of tribal lands from tribal people, which this country has a very long history of. And it was despicable. I mean, it's something that this country says that they have this trust relationship with tribes, and they honor and respect our treaties, and we have this nation-to-nation building right between us. But at the same time, they just took our lands again. I mean, this is now 2015, and that's happening. And it was in a bill that they knew would pass, that was going to go through no matter what, and they put it on as a rider. So it was a very sad thing that happened.
And that kind of land grab, I'm not sure if that was done under eminent domain or not. I mean, native lands, I'm assuming, are being taken for this pipeline via the Fifth Amendment, via eminent domain?
So there is, it's ancestral homelands for one of the tribes, Oglala Sioux tribe. It's their ancestral homelands that they've never ceded. And so I would argue that's a taking. And it actually does pass through, I believe, the Rosebud Sioux Reservation, the actual existing boundaries of the reservation. They've actually called it an act of war. Wow. I mean, it's something that the risk to those peoples and to us generally, to the entire country, is just so high for such a little benefit. It's going to benefit Canada. It's not going to benefit us.
Right. It's going to benefit Canada and the oil industry, the oil barons, you know.
Exactly.
And China, who gets the oil. It's amazing. Tara, thank you so much.
Thank
you. It's great
you.
to meet you. Keep up the great work.